and play on 2nd and 10. That's his youth right there.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
Today I'll be filming my predicted first round offensive players for the 2026 NFL draft. So I only see one quarterback this time that is likely to go first round, and that's Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, because Julian Sayin is not eligible for the NFL draft yet. Now, there are some other quarterbacks that could possibly go first round, like Ty Simpson and Carson Beck. But Fernando Mendoza is for sure to go first round. He's probably the best quarterback that Indiana has ever had. He came from California, where he had a great season also last year, throwing for just over 3,000 yards and 11 games, but his accuracy has gotten better since he's been at Indiana. His completion percentages went from 68.7% to 71.5%. He's got all the accuracy that you could ask for, and his yards per throw averages went up quite a bit too, from 7.8 to 9.4. And he's thrown 17 more touchdown passes this year at Indiana than he did at Cal last year. His touchdown to interception ratio was great at 33 to 6. And he throws a great deep ball, and he's great at reading defenses. And he's thrown for nearly 3,000 yards this season, and will no doubt pass that in the college football playoff game. And Mendoza is for sure going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. And depending on what each team needs, he could be the #1 pick. If the team that gets the #1 pick needs a quarterback, he is going to be the #1 pick. You also only see one running back that's likely to get drafted in the first round this time, and that's Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, a Heisman finalist, and he deserves to be. And he just won the award for the best running back in college football, and he deserves that too. He's a 2-year starter and has started 29 college games. And has rushed for 100 plus yards in 11 games in his college career. This year's been his best year. This year he's got 1,372 yards rushing on 199 carries and 18 rushing touchdowns, averaging a really good 6.9 a carry. Miami was the only team that was able to stop him. He's likely going to be a top 10 pick. He's got elite speed, and he's as good at breaking tackles as you're going to find. A lot like Cam Scatterbo, who played for Arizona State, and that way. And he's also a decent pass catcher, too. And I also only see one tight end who's likely to get drafted in the first round, and that's Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt.
Nice sunny day back then. Beautiful. A little cloudy now. Diego Pavia letting one fly. Busted coverage. This is going to be a touchdown for.
He just won the award for the best tight end in college football, and he deserves it. And he was one of the best tight ends in college football last year. He had that year 49 catches for 638 and 5 touchdowns. And he's been even better this year with 62 catches for 769 and 4 touchdowns. And he's likely going to play in the bowl game, I saw, so he'll get to add on to that. He's been the top target for Heisman finalist quarterback Diego Pavia both years that they've been there, and he's a 4-star tight end, similar to Brock Bowers, who played for Georgia. Now, he's only expected to go round 2 or 3, but there are several players every year that get drafted in the first round that aren't expected to. And I think Eli Stowers is going to be one of those players, probably a late first round pick. So at the wide receivers, so you're probably wondering why Jeremiah Smith isn't on this list, but Jeremiah Smith will not be eligible for the NFL draft until the 2027 NFL draft because he's only a sophomore. But when Jeremiah Smith does get drafted, he'll for sure be the first wide receiver taken. And depending on what each team needs that year, he could be the first player taken. But I've got Jordan Tyson at Arizona State as number one. But he makes so many of those impossible looking catches. Probably going to be a top 10 pick. But injuries have hurt him both years that he's been a starter, even though he's had two really good years. Last year, he missed the Big 12 championship and the college football playoff game because of an injury. And then this year, he's missed 3 games because of an injury. But this year, before the injury, and when Sam Levitt was playing, Tyson looked unstoppable. But not even Texas Tech, who has a great secondary, was able to slow him down. He had 10 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown in their win over Texas Tech. But I already saw that he's entering the NFL draft and is not expected to play in the bowl game. But when he returned from the injury this year for the last 2 regular season games, after the injury without Levitt, his production went way down. In those 2 games combined, he only had 4 catches for 83 yards. But he still finished the year with 61 catches for 711 and 8 touchdowns, averaging 11.7 a catch. And in these last 2 years, he had 900 plus yard games. He was only a 3-star recruit, but was coached by Kenny Dillingham, who seems to be one of college football's best coaches right now. And two, I've got Makai Lemon from USC. So Lemon just won the award for the best wide receiver in college football. Well, I think Jeremiah Smith probably should have won that. Lemon is about as good of a route runner as that you're gonna find, and he's for sure been Lincoln Riley's best wide receiver since he's been at USC. And I'd say he's about as good as CeeDee Lamb, who Riley coached at Oklahoma. He's a 4-star wide receiver. The one bad thing for him, though, is his height, only being 5'11". Nearly all NFL wide receivers are 6 foot or taller. But he had a good year last year too, but he's been much better this year. This year he has 79 catches for 1,156 yards and 11 touchdowns, averaging 14.6 a catch. I haven't seen if he's going to play in the bowl game or not, but this year he has 500 plus yard games. But he has had a few slow games too, like the Nebraska game where that Southern Cal's whole offense got slowed down. He was held to just 2 catches for 18 yards. And then these last 2 games against Oregon and UCLA, he got slowed down. Against Oregon, he had 7 catches and 2 of them for touchdowns, but only had 34 yards. And then against UCLA, he had a 32-yard touchdown catch, but that was the only touchdown catch he had. But he's likely going to be picked somewhere in the top 20. And then 3, I've got Carnell Tate from Ohio State, a 5-star recruit, one of so many great wide receivers that has played for Ohio State. Ohio State is no doubt the best program at recruiting and developing wide receivers, which is why Tate is not even the best wide receiver on his team, even though he's one of the best receivers in the country. He's missed 3 games with an injury, but the 10 games he's played in, he's got 48 catches for 838 and 9 touchdowns, averaging a really impressive 17.5 a catch. And he had a good year last year too, but his problem was he was behind Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka. Now Ibuka leaving has made Tate's numbers go up, but Ohio State has had five wide receivers drafted in the first round in the last 4 years, and it's going to be 7 in 6 years because they'll have Tate this year and then Jeremiah Smith the next year. Tate, I think, has a good chance to be a top 10 pick. But bad news for Ohio State is that their wide receivers coach and offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline, who is the best wide receiver coach in the country, is leaving them to become the head coach at South Florida. But number four, I've got Zachariah Branch from Georgia. So, of all the great wide receivers that Lincoln Riley has coached at USC and Oklahoma, Branch came from USC. He has the highest ceiling of all of them. He's the fastest football player I've ever seen. I read he's reached 26 miles an hour on the treadmill. He's so fast that you'll see him catch a screen pass, which should only be a 1 or 2 yard gain, and his speed will turn it into a 10 or more yard gain. The only bad thing for him is his height, only being at 5'10". But Branch is one of those players that has never really reached his ceiling because he's had a good year at Georgia. He's got 71 catches and 744 yards, and that's good, but you would have thought, especially as bad as the other Georgia wide receivers have been, that he could have had 1,000 or more yards. Then at USC, he had some great moments, but he was pretty inconsistent, which is why I do think there's a good chance he could only be a second round receiver. And if he does get picked in the first round, it'll probably be a late first round selection. Number five, I've got Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. So Concepcion transferred to Texas A&M this year from NC State, where he had a great freshman season in 2023, catching 71 passes for 839 and 10 touchdowns. And then he took a step back in his sophomore year, but likely because of poor quarterback play at NC State. And then transferred to Texas A&M, where he's returned to his freshman form, catching 57 passes for 886 and 9 touchdowns, averaging a really good 15.5 a catch. Him and his teammate Mario Craver have been two of the best wide receivers in college football this season. He's a slot receiver with elite speed that has helped him be college football's best return specialist this year. He's returned 2 punts for a touchdown and is averaging 19.2 yards per punt return. He's expected to be drafted from 20 to 30 in the first round. And he was only a three-star coming out of high school, but he was one of the top wide receivers in the portal this year. The only bad thing for him is his height, though, only being 5'11". Offensive lineman. Number one, I've got Spencer Fano from Utah. So Fano just won the award for being the best offensive lineman in college football, and I think he deserved it. I think he's the best offensive lineman that Kyle Whittingham has ever coached, and he's coached many good offensive linemen. He's been an All-American player all 3 years that he's been at Utah, and he's a 3-year starter at tackle. Started 36 college games, and this year's been his best year. He's not allowed a sack all year and has only allowed 5 pressures. And he was a 4-star recruit. And number two, I've got Caleb Loma from Utah. So Fano and Loma, I think, are the two best offensive linemen in college football this season. Loma's been almost as good as Fano has. He's not allowed a sack all year this year either, and has only allowed 8 pressures. And Utah doesn't have much depth, but I think their starting five on their offensive line have been the best in college football this season. And Loma was a 2-year starter at tackle and a 4-star recruit. He started 24 games for Utah and has been an All-American both years. And these two tackles are probably the biggest reason why this has been Kyle Whittingham's best of many great offensive lines that he's had at Utah. That's helped them average at 269.8 rushing yards per game, which ranks second in the country, and average 6.1 yards per run, and only allowed 12 sacks this season. And bad news though for Utah is Kyle Whittingham is retiring. But number three, I've got Francis Magoa from Miami, a 5-star who's a 3-year starter at tackle for Miami. He started 38 college games. This year's been his best year. He's only allowed 2 sacks and 9 total pressures. His size is a big reason as to why he's so good. He's 6'6", 335. He's been the best offensive lineman in the ACC this year, and it's not even been close. And he was an All-American offensive lineman his freshman and junior years. In number four, I've got Isaiah World from Oregon. So World was only a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, but he transferred this year to Oregon from Nevada, where he was a 3-year starter, and in 2024 was the best offensive lineman in the group of five, and was the top offensive lineman in the portal this year. And he's started all 12 games for Oregon at tackle this season. And there's a good chance he could be a top 10 pick due to his size. He's 6'8", 315. He's been a great addition for Oregon, who's had one of the best offensive lines in college football this season. I couldn't find exactly how many sacks and pressures he's allowed this year, but I did see that he's allowed very few pressures and very few, if any, sacks. But that'll be it with this video. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be filming my defensive players video in a few days.